In the last video, we saw how to use the Ionic storage to store key value pairs in our local storage on the browser. So if I open the local storage on the browser, right here you can see we have the first key value data stored with location and the ID. Then we have the values as a string. Now what we want to do is to fetch or retrieve these values from the local storage. If I go back to the browser and I open this Ionic tab right here, you can see we use the set method to set with the key and the value. Now to retrieve, we can use the get method. Now if you want to probably retrieve just one key from the storage and you know exactly what its key is, you can use the get method. But if you want to retrieve every value you have inside the local storage, then you can use the for each method. So the for each method will loop through, then return everything you have inside the local storage. So what we are going to do here is we are first going to retrieve, then we are going to see how we are going to display the name of the city and the current temperature. So right here on this left, we are going to add a button, and inside that button we will add the name of the city and also we add the current temperature. Now let's go back into Visual Studio Code. Right here inside app.component.ts, we are going to create the ng on init. So we have just the after view init. What we need to do is let's add on init. And as you know, on init, immediately after the constructor is called, the ng on init is called, and it's called once. So then after that we need to implement. So we implement on init. Then the next thing down here, we can create ng on init. So what I just did was I imported on init from Angular core, then right here passed it into this export class, implements on init, then also after view init. Then we want to call the ng on init method. Now what I'm going to do, instead of using this get method, what I'll do is I'm going to use the for each method, because what we have right here, we are going to save other values in the local storage, and we'll need the for each method to loop through and return all of the values. So to get the values, I'll say this dot storage, then we use the for each method dot for each. Inside, I'll pass the value, pass the key if you want the key, then I'll pass the index. But what we are only going to use is just the values. So I call this dot storage dot for each. Then as parameters, pass in the value, pass in the key, and pass in the index. So right here, if I do console.log value, console.log key, console.log, then index. So right here I have the value, the key, and the index. So I'll save this, then open the terminal. So you can see I have the results, the value right here. It doesn't look very pretty, but down, if I go down, you can see I have the key and I have the index. But what we are going to make use of right now is just this value, and we need to pass, use json.pass, because right here it is being stringified, it's returned as a string. We need to use json.pass method to pass the values to a JSON object. So what I'll do, I'll go back here, I'll take out all of this. Now recall that we have this pages array, and inside this array, that is where we're going to add all of the values that we retrieve. Then we'll use this pages array inside our app.html file. So right here, what I'm going to do is this dot pages dot push. Since it's an array, we are using the push method. So we push, then we pass with JSON dot pass. So we use JSON dot pass. So it's going to convert it to a JSON object. Then we pass in the value. So whatever is going to be returned from using this storage dot for each method will be pushed into this pages array right here. So if I save this right now, then if I go back to our app.html file, or before we do that, we can try to see if or what the pages array contains. So this dot pages, so let's do a console.log this dot pages. So I'll save this right now. Quickly come here, let me clear this. Then I'll see the results of the pages array. So right here you can see I just have one object inside the array, and inside the object you can see I have the forecast object here, you can see, and the name of the city is Tallinn. Then I have the current weather as well. You can see it still has the name as Tallinn. So we have the value now added into the pages array. What I need to do right now is, let's go back to our app.html file. Right here inside the Eon content, we have this Eon list, and inside the Eon list we have this button. But first I can change this menu to something like city management, or you can put whatever title you want there. So I'll call this city management. Let me just delete this, so I'll write it from scratch. So I'll delete this. Now inside this Eon list, I'm going to use the Angular's ng-for directive. So because we want to loop through an array to return all the values from the array, it is like using a for each method or a for loop. So the ng-for method or directive, we say ng-for equal double quotes, or inside we say let p of pages. Now this pages is coming from this pages array, and we declared it right here, as you can see. So if you are using something different, like say location array, then that is what you are going to use right here. So I called mine pages, so I'm using page. This is just a variable name. So let p of pages. Now inside this Eon list, then I'm going to add a button. So button, inside the button I'll add some properties. The first one is going to be Eon item. Now we're not going to add Eon button because we don't want it to look like a button, but when the user hovers or clicks on it, then we're going to call an event, or the click event. But I will just pass in this Eon item. Then the next thing is going to be menu close. Now this menu close property, it's going to close the menu whenever we click on an item. So if I go back here, right here, you can see, but now we don't have any. If I click here, you can see it's closing the menu because we have a button somewhere here, invisible button right here. That is why we are adding this menu close, so that when we click on an item, it's going to close the menu. Then the next thing we are going to add is inside the button, we'll add the Eon navbar, or rather the Eon avatar, because we want to display the icon. If you come right here, you can see we added the icon. We have the icon right here. So Eon avatar, this is for images, Eon avatar, and we want to place it at the left side of the page. So I'll pass item left. Now meanwhile, all these are available right here. If you go to Ionic storage, then you go to developers, UI components, you can check out the different UI components, like this Eon lists, the buttons, the Eon avatars, the Eon items. You can check all of them out. Then the next thing I want to pass is pass the image tag. This is standard HTML. Pass the source. Now for the source, we are going to get the source from here. You can see we have this icon right here. You can see we have this icon. So the source is going to be, I add open and close braces. It's going to be p.icon. So this is the icon we are adding. Let me save this right now. Then go back to the page. Wait for it to reload so we can see it. So if I open the side menu, you can see right here I have the icon being displayed. So beside the icon, I'll have the name of the city. Then on the right hand side, I'll display the current temperature of that city. So every city that we are going to add will be added to this side menu with the icon, the name, and the current temperature. And if I click here, right here now, you can see that it closed the side menu because we added a button and we added this menu close property. After this Eon avatar, I will just add the name of the city, and we can get that from p.weather.name. So p.weather.name, this will give us the name of the city. Then the next thing I want to use is Eon badge. Now this Eon badge, I'll set it to the right hand side. The Eon avatar is set to the left. The Eon badge will be set to the right. So, or use item end. So it's going to set it to the end, which is going to be the right hand side. Then inside the Eon badge, I'll add the current temperature. And to get the current temperature, we can get it using p.weather.main.temp. If I go back to app.component.ts, you can see that we have this weather key inside the object. That is what we have right here. We are using it here, and we're also using it here. So inside this weather object, we have the an object with key main, and inside we have the current temperature. So now we have the icon, the city name, and also the current temperature. Now let me save this, go back to the browser, wait for it to refresh. Now if I click here, you can see now we have the current city, the temperature, and also the icon. What I will do now is to just add the degree symbol right here. So right here, I'll add the ampersand, degree, then the semicolon. So this is going to add the degree symbol. So I'll save this now, go back. If I click here, you can see now we have the degree. So the icon, the current city, and also the current temperature. What we are going to do next is, if we click on any of the cities that will be displayed here, it's going to display the weather information for that city. So if I have Tallinn, London, New York, if I click on New York, then it's going to open up the home page and display the current or the weather information for New York. If I click on Tallinn, it's going to display the weather information for Tallinn. And also we are going to use the Ionic slides so that we can slide through and see every weather information for cities that are added and displayed on the side menu.